Hello, everyone. So, I am here to talk about the new Ellie Goulding single that just dropped. It's called Power. And we do know, and we have been confirmed, that this song will be on Ellie Goulding's fourth studio album, something that Ellie Goulding fans have been waiting for quite some time for. And what's made the wait a lot more arduous is the fact that it feels like it's had several false starts over the years. We have gotten quite a few singles from Ellie over the last year and a half or so. They've been mostly pop collabs with like a more urban hip hop artist, very sort of in the vein of music she made on her last album, Delirium. And they've gotten progressively worse. I have been pretty disappointed with the more recent output from Ellie, with the exception of one song, which I will mention in a second, that we got about a year ago now. Goodness gracious, it's been so long since we got that track, and we still have no official announcement of EJ4. But she has said that she said this last week, but she said that this upcoming week, in the beginning of the week, there was going to be more EG4 news. So I am hoping that tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday, we might finally get the album announcement, the album title, which I'm sorry if this is a leak, but I have heard that it's heavily rumored to be titled Brightest Blue. I've also seen a track list floating around. I won't share that, but it's on Twitter. It's not hard to find. It does look pretty legit, but who knows? From what we know, the album is at least heavily rumored to come out in June. I've seen the date June 12th thrown around quite a bit. To be completely honest, I think that that was the original release date plan before the whole, crisis that we found ourselves in with everything getting moved around. Unfortunately, I do feel like the album has been pushed back just a little bit, because for her to launch the pre-order only a little over 2 weeks before the album drops is a little short. I'm not quite buying that the album is going to come out. It's going to come out June 12th, but maybe it will. Sometimes artists, I mean, she's dragged the song long enough. Sometimes artists wait till like 2 weeks before the album to put out the pre-order. So, honestly, who knows? But I highly suspect we will be getting that, or at least a big announcement this week, which is very exciting because I have been waiting feverishly for Ellie to release. I said in my 2020 album predictions video that Ellie would drop this year, and the song Flux, which was released a year ago, was what really got my ears perked and really got me very, very excited for what EG4 had to offer. Because at that time, she said that that was definitely the song that was more in the vein and direction and style, sonically, lyrically, thematically, of her fourth studio album. And then the other songs like Hate Me with Juice World, Close to Me with Sway Lee, 16, those pop dance urban songs were definitely more just experiments for fun to get streams, the drill. I can hardly fault her for that. I just do wish she was a little clearer about, when this album was coming out and not being so coy with it. But at the end of the day, I get why she wanted to just have fun, make that fun dance music, do those collabs. Maybe they were recorded a while ago. The most recent one, called Worry About Me, featuring Black Bear, is the worst out of all of them, possibly. Maybe Hate Me is worse. Maybe Hate Me is worse. I'm being generous here. But it was not good for me. It was, again, if it came with the album, I would be like, okay. But at this point, I think part of the problem is that we know that Ellie has so much more to offer. But I was really frustrated that she gave us yet another sort of droplet standalone pop contemporary track that, again, was just mainly for Spotify. And so I am very, very eager to hear a more stripped back, introspective singer-songwriter Ellie, someone that we fell in love with largely on her second album, Halcyon, which I have not reviewed on this channel yet, which is criminal, and I will get to it. I promise I'm going to review that album, especially if Ellie does announce EG4 within the next week. Expect a Halcyon review to come out before that album is released. I really want to try and get that out there before EG4 is released if I can. So Halcyon review coming soon. That album's from 2012. Of course, Lights and Bright Lights, her debut. Also love that record. Don't know if I'll cover it on this channel just because it's so old to me. And I mean, I love it, but I don't have as much to say about it as I do Halcyon, but we'll see. And then, like I said, we got Delirium. It was pop Ellie gone, to the stratosphere. It was overproduced in a lot of places and definitely a bit overindulgent with some of the EDM stuff. But at the same time, I can't fault her for that. She was riding off the coattails of Burn, and she was just, that was the era of Ellie Goulding. She was having a lot of hits with that kind of sound. But now she's finally, almost 8 years later, finally toning things down for Flux. She's gotten married. A lot has changed in her life. She almost gave up on music. She went through some serious dark points with the industry and with so many things, with her health, her fitness regimes, getting she talks about how she got almost addicted to working out, which is really hard for someone like me to understand because I feel like I'm addicted to not working out. But she actually talks about, and I believe that this is a severe problem, that you can over exert yourself with working out, and it actually does negatively impact your life. So she has been openly candid about how she struggled with that. So she's been dealing with a lot of stuff. But I hope that now she's sort of in the more honeymoon phase, and that a lot of these songs that she wrote sort of over the years leading up to her marriage and all of these struggles are more reflective of a few years ago when she was going through a harder time than she might be now. But, we're all struggling. Flux is so indicative of that because, I've talked about that song and I will link my review of it in the description, but that song just had its heart on its sleeve in a way that was so refreshing. Just her at the piano, really selling that gorgeous bird-like vocal that I fell in love with from the beginning. And I just couldn't love that song more. And it has heavily rumored to be that song will be on the album. Like, if she always said it would be, there's no way it's not. If it isn't, we're rioting. So now, Power. I know this was a huge preamble, but there was so much context I needed to throw at this before I dived into this new song. We get the song, we get a music video. The music video is not what it could have been because of, I don't know if I can say the C word still and get demonetized. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to say the C word, COVID, but you know what I'm talking about. I know that she just had to be able to film it in her bedroom, kind of work with that. So the video is kind of but we have to give her a pass there. But the song Power itself, well, it's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction from this heavily produced, very electronic pop music. The lyrical content is definitely pushing it into a more interrelational, metaphorical space that I don't think we hear a lot on more of her more big radio Spotify hit songs. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the push in that direction. There's a lot more under the surface bubbling in the lyrics, which I do want to touch on. Painted to pure perfection, we had a real connection. Bodies aching, overtaken. You kept me at a distance, not asking any questions. Fingers pressing, learning lessons. Beautiful lies on a Friday night, starting to wonder where we lost the magic. Head in the clouds, talking so loud. All I hear is static. I'm not a material girl. Everything in your world just feels like plastic. Wearing your crown, it's pulling me down. You just want the power. You're not really down for love. You just want the power. Ellie describes this song as being about dating in the 21st century, particularly through online dating and the use of Instagram, social media, how we tend to get very caught up in the superficial and outside exterior look of things before we get a chance to develop more meaningful connections. This is something that is exacerbated by online dating, particularly with the social media aspect of it, especially in the homosexual gay men community. This is something that I am dealing with every single day whenever I try and date, and I'm reckoning it within myself because I do not, I recognize some of these tendencies that I have too, that Ellie is grappling with, in the fact that she feels like she's powerless to stop this perpetuated cycle of her ending up with guys who are all about looks, but end up feeling so draining because she can't actually find anything deeper and authentic in the connection they form. She's realizing, maybe after a hookup that wasn't supposed to be a hookup, she had hoped it would be more romantic, that at the end of the day was all they were really looking for. And that there's another Rolodex of girls in his DMs that he's going to go for, and you're just another profile with maybe a hot picture that you feel bad for promoting so overtly to try and get his attention. It's this power play where you realize, I need to participate in this beauty capital society in putting my best profile picture out there and promoting what I look like over maybe perhaps my personality, which maybe I hide away and don't reveal until date 3, if I can get there, if the guy actually finds me attractive enough to want to know what's actually in my mind, which a relationship ain't going to go anywhere until you open up what's in the mind as well. It can't just all be about the physical. And so this endless catch 22 we find ourselves in, where everyone is just wanting the physical but also starving for an emotional connection but afraid to actually achieve it without the physical coming first, is something that I feel so caught up in right now that I'm just like, girl, you have read my diary. You know exactly where especially gay men I think struggle with, but women as well, and in heterosexual relationships. At the end of the day, it's really easy to get disillusioned by it. I'm kind of at that stage in my life where I really, really don't want to go on another dating app. I do not want to look at another guy's Instagram that I might potentially date. I do not want to start the same old cliche cycle of like small talk leading to a hookup that I didn't even ask for, that I probably didn't even enjoy as much as the other party did, because I tend to have very high standards when it comes to the sexual side of things. That's a whole other story. I've made a video about that, and I'll probably talk more about that in another video. But anyway, yeah, real connections, what are they? Where are they? God knows. But I really do feel like, especially with heterosexual women and homosexual men who are having to date other men, it's different for lesbians in a way because they're dating other women, and women, even if they're straight or gay, can be a little more open to getting beyond the physical, I feel like, than men are. Again, that's stereotyping, but if you just look at statistics, that just tends to be the way things are. Men are so physically driven for things right out of the gate. A lot of the time, they can't help themselves. Women can be too, but unfortunately, this dynamic that a lot of us who chase men find, that men often are kind of all about having this sort of sexual escapade, and there's a lot of power there that can make the other party feel dispensable, or the other party feel like they're not really being seen for who they are. And if you're a hopeless romantic, then you're just going to be continually disappointed. Trust me, in the men I try and date, this happens almost all of the time. You know, I am just repeatedly disappointed by how shallow they are, or by how mismatched our personalities are in terms of how I want to go about dating, and how I might not be as overtly sexual or might be a little more reserved with that. And that's a deal breaker for them. There's not very much will to compromise. So everything in your world just feels like plastic. Yeah, I get that. All the Instagram, showy models on there, particularly gay men, who preach self-love, but, are constantly showing a picture of their abs that they just worked out for, and consciously showing them in some exotic location with a hookup or a boyfriend or God knows what, trying to make it look like they are promoting self-love, when in reality, what they're really promoting is a oftentimes sugar-coated sense of reality and self that is often covering deeper, raw insecurities that no one's really sharing on social media. No one's really getting the real and the more sort of uglier side of things. And I find that a lot of gay men tend to really run, particularly more masculine gay men, tend to really run when things might actually be a little bit more complicated at first glance, and so they're not willing to put in the work to actually try and maybe compromise, or try and figure out and communicate properly how we might try and keep these initial feelings going, because they are there. So, with all that being said, I sympathize with Ellie 100% on this song. I think so many of us can. And I'm really excited for EG4, because it sounds like, especially also coming off of Flux, that this is going to be a huge topic on this record. Now, obviously, Ellie is happily married. So, it's not so much like I said, that these songs are coming from present day. This is what I hope I can aspire to as well. I would hope that, as a single and lonely kind of depressed person right now, so to speak, that I would make stuff like this, but eventually maybe find, I hate using the term fairy tale, but, maybe find a partner that everything works out with in the end, which I would hope so will be the case for Ellie. So I'm trying not to think too much about the fact that this girl has actually broken through and it appears found love that's really worked and stuck in this day and age with a man. So that's quite an accomplishment. I pat you on the back, Ellie, for that, because that ain't no easy feat. especially if you have any form of standards with anything. Like, forget about it. So that is just what gets me so excited to dive into the lyrics of this project, which I know will be delivered in a much more vulnerable, stripped back singer songwriter style. I cannot wait for this record. Have you heard the song River, the cover she did from Joni Mitchell over the holidays? I'm expecting songs that sound like that. The bar is pretty high. Now, Power sonically, is it going fully in that direction? No. It's definitely, still very electronic. There's no real acoustic element, no real guitar coming in at all. There's this warbling synth bass line that she is layering her vocals on top of. But if you have to remember, Halcyon also was very electronic. It was the perfect blend of a little bit more modern with folksy, countryside Ellie. And so it was the perfect blend of those styles. And I really appreciated that for it. So it's not like I don't expect songs to be a little bit more up tempo, a little bit more edgy, electronic than, other stripped back songs. I will expect a whole variety on this record. And so what I do expect though is there to be real personal meaning behind the songs. And that's not something I really get from some of those radio collabs, where they do feel a bit more just like a manufactured product with 80 songwriters contributing. This feels more like just Ellie writing her thoughts and having a producer put their magic and spin on it. And also, honestly, it does remind me of Halcyon, the triumphant chorus with the layered vocals, the pounding bass synths. I can sit with it. I can sit with it. Is it my favorite Ellie song? Will it be my favorite off the new record? Probably not. But, I'm definitely content with having this and knowing we're going in the right direction. So I'm not going to slight it for that. Yeah, it's definitely still a radio contender, even though I don't necessarily think it's going to get that kind of promo just because her team seems to be all about Worry About Me still. And it looks like that might be like a bonus track. We'll see. I wouldn't mind it. That's fine. It can be bonus tracks. But yeah, I really am looking forward to seeing vulnerable, deep cutting Ellie, who is picking up the guitar a bit more, playing the piano more, and just really putting her heart on her sleeve. But she can also, have great synths in there, and I'm not going to complain about that. So yeah, I actually really enjoy this song for what it is, and I just hope that there's more impressive stuff. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this new track? Do you agree with what I said about what the meaning of this song means for us, particularly if you're gay and you're trying to deal with other men, trying to date them? Especially if you tend to be like me, more attracted to a certain type of gay man who tends to be very problematic for yourself. Yeah, I definitely have that issue. And I recognize that in myself, and I sort of recoil because I'm like, oh, why can I not be attracted to more feminine, softer types of men who are a little bit more like me in terms of my mind? Why am I so caught up in the way things look and having it be very masculine? Question for the age for me, but a lot more to sift through with that. But yeah, power in relationships and power in sex. It's definitely something I've been thinking about a lot, and apparently Ellie was ruminating on too. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to EG4, and like I said, stay tuned for a Halcyon album review, because I have not actually reviewed an Ellie Goulding album on this channel yet, and it's criminal, so I will be doing that soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please give it a like if you did, and subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace, love, and light.